Have you ever wondered, amidst all the production chaos we've already covered, what is actually happening to the story of The Wolf Among Us 2? We've talked about the technical setbacks and the prolonged silence, but the soul of any Telltale game is its narrative. When the original storytellers walk away, you have to ask who, if anyone, is left holding the pen. The answer is more complicated and, frankly, more concerning than you might think. If you're here for the real, unfiltered story behind the games you love, hype this video up by hitting that hype button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. It's the best way to stay in the loop on these deep dives. To grasp the weight of this, you have to remember why AdHoc Studio's involvement was such a big deal. These weren't just contractors. They were formed from the very DNA of the old Telltale. Founded by key veterans, including lead writer Pierre Shorette, these were the people who understood the grit and heart of Fabletown. Their partnership with the new Telltale was the single greatest assurance that the sequel would feel authentic. For a moment, it seemed the perfect reunion. The creative custodians were back to finish the story they started. For a couple of years, they did just that. They were hard at work crafting the next chapter for Bigby Wolf, and during this time, they also began developing their own compelling title, Dispatch. But then came the statement from Pierre Shorette himself, a clarification that seismically shifted the entire landscape. He confirmed that AdHoc Studio is no longer actively working on The Wolf Among Us 2. He explained that his team dedicated years to the project and, crucially, had completed the writing of the entire script for the new season. However, their active involvement has ended. As far as he's known, Telltale is continuing with the project, but they are doing so without AdHoc. The tone of his message is what's really telling. There was no bitterness, just the pragmatic sound of a creator who's proud of their work but is now detached from its fate. He expressed a genuine hope to one day see the script they wrote realized, but he was clear in acknowledging it's no longer their project. In a bizarre twist, the very people who wrote Bigby's next chapter have joined the rest of us on the outside, waiting and wondering what will become of it. So why did they leave? It wasn't a dramatic creative clash. According to Pierre Shorette, it was about logistics. The new Telltale, still rebuilding, needed more time to get its production pipelines for cinematics and animation running. Progress had stalled. AdHoc, as an independent studio, couldn't afford to wait in an indefinite holding pattern. They made the pragmatic business decision to pivot and focus their energy on Dispatch rather than risk their own studio's future. It was a logical move, but one that leaves a gaping hole at the creative center of the sequel. This leaves the entire project in an incredibly precarious state. We now know that a complete, professionally written script exists, penned by the minds behind the original, but that script is now an asset in the hands of a Telltale team largely disconnected from its creation. Will they use it? That is the great unknown. Telltale could proceed with it faithfully, rework it heavily, or scrap it entirely. The game that eventually releases could be a realization of AdHoc's vision, a ghost of what it was meant to be, or something completely unrecognizable. The very soul of the game is in question, and the fact that the lead writers are as much in the dark as the fanbase is perhaps the most telling sign of all. The hope that AdHoc's involvement provided has now been replaced by a profound sense of uncertainty, leaving us all in the same boat, waiting. So that's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, stay informed, stay excited.